Hello. It's the height of the summer and we're all spending an awful lot of time with a watering can in our hands. What I want to talk about today is how to make the most of that time that we're spending to make our watering as effective as possible, and also so that we waste as little water as possible. As manufacturers of peat-free growing media, we're often asked what are the differences? What if I'm going to switch from a peat-based traditional medium and I'm going to peat-free, what are the things I should look out for? In the watering sense, some people say that peat-frees need a lot more water. With ours, that isn't strictly the case, but one thing you may notice is that the surface of the pot can look dry when in fact it's perfectly adequately watered underneath. So you can pop your finger in to the layer beneath the surface to check that there's enough moisture, but also learn the weight of your pot, learn what an adequately watered pot actually feels like in terms of weight. And you can do this with a small pot. If you've got large containers with your bedding plants in the garden, maybe a heavy terracotta pot, plainly you can't lift that up, but you can just tip it, and it's quite easy to learn the difference once you know what an adequately watered pot feels like. You'll soon get the hang of using that as a test. So one thing that's you can easily do to help yourself with watering is actually think about doing it in 2 lots. And this is as true for the garden as it is for any pot. So it's as true for soil and plants planted out in your borders. In general, I would say you should be avoiding watering any plants in your borders unless they're newly planted, in which case you will very definitely need to. Any containers that you've planted, any trees and shrubs, very much will be taking some time to get established, and in these very hot summer days do keep an eye on the watering of those. But I just want to show you here, I've got pots that have just been in the greenhouse. It's been very hot in here today, and a few minutes ago I just gave this one a very light watering and this one not. And if I water them now, straight away, you may be able to see that the one that was watered previously, the water's sunk in and it feels much heavier. This one, the water has sunk in, but it's still a lot lighter. So do your watering in 2 lots. Do a light watering, go away, have a cup of tea, have your tea, even come back the next morning, and then water again. And you'll find that the water you're adding is far more, that the compost is far more receptive to that second watering. Certainly when it comes to anything that's planted in the garden, you may be planting out vegetable transplants at this time of year. And you can see this one really should have gone out already. Very good root system. But when I plant that out in the soil, that is going to take some time for that root system to start exploring. So because it's a very leafy lettuce, that is going to be transpiring a lot of moisture on a hot day. So that will require a nice amount of watering when I first put it out in the garden. And one thing that you can do to help in this situation, and with a tree and a shrub, anything you're about to plant out, give it a good dunk in a bucket of water for half an hour before you plant it out, and that'll get the root ball totally saturated and give it the best chance when you're planting out. And I'm just going to show you, I've got some nice cucumbers growing in our organic planter, and I just want to demonstrate this business about pre-watering and then coming back, watering and seeing what the effect is. Here we have some lovely cucumbers growing in the planter. I pre-watered the 2 squares on the right hand side. I watered those about 45 minutes ago, and the one on the left hand side I left without water. So I'm just going to show you how the water's just soaking in very nicely into those 2 that were pre-watered. The one that's quite dry on the surface is much less ready to take the water, and is that, you probably can't see that, but it's actually spilling over into the tray below. It is soaking in, but not nearly as effectively as these two on the right hand side. So that's just to demonstrate the effect of pre-watering and making your watering more effective. So with a few simple rules, by following a few simple rules, you can very effectively water your plants. And one other thing to remember is that when we get rain in the summer, it's highly unlikely, unless we get an absolute deluge, to do anything for your plants in containers. So any tubs, any hanging baskets, don't assume that just because we get some rain that actually that's doing the watering for you, because it's very, very unlikely to be doing so. And you can test this for yourself next time we get any rain. Just see the effect on a dry planter, and you'll see that the rain isn't doing very much at all. So you will need to get out there with your watering can. But just follow these simple rules and you will find that your watering is effective, your plants look great, and your garden looks fantastic.